How's it going, Cancer? This is Monday, the day of the moon reading for you. Just got done with Taurus right now, so I really appreciate you watching. My name is Druis, the Indigo Void, and I want to welcome you to your September 7th reading, 13th. Pretty much Monday to Monday. I typically like to do the signs on their planetary days, so their home signs as well as their exaltations. So, today I'll be using the Mystic Tarot, along with the Holographic Tarot and the Indigo Angels Oracle. The first spread we'll be doing is a traditional 10-card Celtic cross spread. Bleh. And I'll be doing a relationship spread, but instead of a relationship with a certain person, I usually do what I call the you against the world spread. So it's something I haven't really seen done before, but there's plenty of people out there that are doing relationship readings. I would rather see a challenge on how to deal with the world around us in general. So, being a general reading in itself, I feel I might as well keep with the general concept instead of saying exes, third-party situations, or twin flames. I'll save that stuff for somebody else. Really happy to do Cancer. I know a lot of people that are wonderful Cancer people in my life, especially if they're, have their Venus in Cancer or their Jupiter in Cancer like myself. But I really enjoy people that are as nurturing or like to be of service as them, whether it be as their ascendant, people that I can tell right off the bat are just excited to be able to help people around them. There's nothing more, especially with my ascendant being Capricorn rising, whatever. I really appreciate people that want to do the hard work as well as be nurturing people, because I can come off as cold. Let me just look at my mug. I'm typically, I come across very cold, but in reality, I'm a person that really likes to laugh. And watch my previous videos, I can tell that I come across as very quiet and stone-faced, and I don't like that, So the more I do these videos, the more comfortable I'll get. So, and I'm also working on the sound quality. So I ordered a mic, so hopefully it'll be here soon by, hopefully next week or the week after. I can't really tell with the U.S. Postal Service. So just know that I plan on being here for a while, and I'm investing in improving my quality, so please stand by. So, the center of reading, we have the Five of Swords crossed by the Page of Cups. Above you we have the Page of Swords. Below you we have the Seven of Wands. Behind you in the recent past we have the Wheel of Fortune. In the near future we have the Six of Pentacles. The advice is the Devil. How others are seeing you is the Ace of Swords. Your hopes and fears section is the Hierophant. And the final outcome is the Eight of Swords. Okay, so right off the bat, what I can see is dealing with some like a situation where either you're dealing with a situation where you're feeling outmatched or you're outmatching somebody else intellectually. This could be having quite a discussion with yourself in your mind where you just feel like you can't conquer a situation or you know exactly how to solve a problem. And actually either way of learning from defeat really can benefit you. Dealing with turmoil and strife and struggle is actually a huge way to improve if you can survive it. Just know that it's only temporary. It's very important knowing that you can learn from your defeats. Sorry about that, my phone was thinking I was asking for Siri. So anyway, I can say, going back to the Five of Swords, is that it's very important to realize that you can learn from mental stress. I'd really recommend detaching. If you're not incorporating some meditation into your life, whether you like it or not, just start doing it. Sometimes a quiet mind is the best way to defeat recurring thoughts, or dealing with an argument with somebody you're facing. Sometimes saying nothing at all is the best way to defeat somebody that's actually wanting to really argue with you, or if they have a lot of facts or things about you, the less you, like when I say when you're interacting with a law enforcement agency, it's typically best not to speak for yourself. Let a lawyer speak for you, and if you don't have anything nice to say, it's often best not to say anything at all, because everything can and will be used against you, and not just in the court of law, in life. And it's crossed by the Page of Cups, so this could be an emotional enthusiasm, but also a surprise. You could have been caught off guard, and it's not always a good thing. Some people like surprises, other people don't. It depends on how much you're stuck in a routine. This could be dealing with an emotional outburst from somebody that just goes through, or maybe actually you could have feel liberated from dealing with a current issue that's been going through your mind, or the enthusiasm of solving a situation, actually winning a battle, something that you've constantly gone over your head. Maybe you've dealt with a situation numerous times, and by defeating it, it's outright just conquering whatever situation you're going through in your head intellectually. Because of the swords, I would say the Page of Cups is allowing you to have a fresh start emotionally. So this could be putting something to an end or establishing your mental prowess, knowing that you can overcome something. And this is just generally speaking, it can be anything from people, places, and things, relationships, workforce, family situations, romantic, not romantic, and just any sort of a way you approach a situation. It's just letting me know that either there's new enthusiasm for a defeat, or because of something defeating you, you're able to understand, okay, I'm not going to go down that path anymore because I recognize that I'm underqualified, or I haven't had enough time to, do some mental gymnastics on how to fix a situation. But overall, I can see your enthusiasm is peaking out because of something that's happened where either you've outsmarted it or it's outsmarted you, but there's still a sense of surprise behind the matter. And it could be, emotionally driven, where it feels good to have that shock sometimes. It can be, sometimes not knowing everything really can benefit. They tell us that ignorance can be bliss in a situation. It's not always true, but sometimes you see the people that are unaware the most are often the most happy. Especially if you're not watching the news these days anymore, you're just giving up because it's taking you into such levels of depression where you just say, I'm not going to turn it on. Sometimes people like that don't know as much often are kind of happier people to be around, in my experience. Above it, the overlay, which is obvious to yourself, is the Four of Swords. So, that's exactly what I was speaking before, and I would just say that it's quite clear that what you need to do is take a mental break. Decompress from having to use your thought process so hard. Realizing that if you constantly try to defeat all your problems or think things to death or whatever, that's not always the best case. Consciously, when you're practicing, attraction, I would definitely say that constantly having something in your head is not actually allowing it to manifest, because if you're constantly thinking about it and how it's going to happen, 9 times out of 10 you're going to be surprised it's not going to happen that way. If you're had to consciously try to have a good day and how it's going to plan out, you get up at 6 a.m., you have a healthy breakfast, you hit the gym, or whatever it be in your personal routine. Count me, how many times have I counted myself wrong for, anticipating what's going to happen the next day, and it typically doesn't work out that way. So realize that sometimes it's best to understand. I've read in Stoicism, those guys, they actually do a lot of meditations on negative aspects, so they feel like they're surprised when good things happen, but as well as on how to deal with situations if they were thinking negatively. Like, for instance, modern Stoics would be like, okay, so what do I do if I have my car breaking down tomorrow? Do I have my insurance paperwork in my glove box? Is it up to date? Do I have my driver's license on me? And if I lose that, how do I obtain a new driver's license? How long will that take? And personally, that could be toxic in its own. So the Four of Swords is definitely saying, just decompress. Just take a break. It's okay to constantly have to solve your problems, especially in our current environment. It's actually almost forcing those that are constantly used to moving a step forward. It's time to relax. It's time to take a deep breath and realize that just because you're taking a break doesn't mean that you should be punished for it. Especially if you're in our Western society, especially if you're in the U.S. and you're used to go, 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 go. It could be very, very nerve-wracking just to sit there and do nothing. Almost feel guilty for doing nothing at times. And underneath you, which you're not quite aware of, in my energy, is the Seven of Wands. So I would say that this is, this is having too many cooks in the kitchen in my experience. The Seven of Wands to me is, wanting to build a house, but you have a bunch of people that don't know how to do the same job, or we have one person that's doing one aspect of it, but they actually need 2 people or 3 people or more to do that certain thing, but they have, every person trying to solve the problem at the same time. You can see here it's depicting in a mythic tarot, it's saying these figures are all trying to win the battle when they're all fighting, each other. And sure, they're recognizable by one of them having, one side of the faction having red robes and one's wearing more barbarian type of brown armor. But what I can see is that in this instance is that you never know that in the heat of battle or whatever you're doing with your time hastily to solve all these issues at once, you never know when you could be, damaging yourself. Sometimes when we rush, they say haste makes waste. Not understandingly and taking that advice from the overlay by saying take a mental break and organize. It really would say it's like, it's, even if you're angry over a situation, whatever, that's what I would speak of too. Is the Seven of Wands, is that if it's anger and you're trying to solve a situation, or you're acting out of feeling distress of any kind, not just like anger at a person, but a place or anything like that, it's very important for us to mentally detach from our emotions that are driving us to make possible mistakes that will have outcomes, or that will have consequences that will often draw us back. There's nothing worse than acting out of a certain emotion that causes us to make us relive it forever. I mean, if you've ever seen an interview of somebody that's gone to prison for murder, sure, it might have pissed them off in the minute that they committed those crimes. But if you think about it, give it, 25 to life. Within those 25 years, whatever, do you still think that they feel just as angry about it as the day they had? And I'm sure there's plenty of circumstances where the internet can show me where somebody 25 years later or life later into after committing murder out of anger or passion, I don't care how it went down, there'd be a time between those things where either it's died down or they wish that we can go back and they can teach people. There's a lot of people out there that teach others, especially the gang communities that have gone to prison. They try to reach the youngsters by saying, please don't act out of emotional, because you'd be here just like me. And sure, I felt passionate about it, I felt good at the time, but it got me nowhere. Within, a few years, whatever, it's like you kind of look around and you realize I don't remember why I was mad. But I made a decision that changed my life for the rest of my life. So, in the recent past, we have the Wheel of Fortune. So this could be just a matter of fate. That's what I depict this card as, is that it's constantly turning, and sometimes we just get a bad hand. So if you're just expecting those rose tinted glasses to be on forever, the Wheel of Fortune sometimes is just saying okay, well, I might have given you those rose tinted glasses before in the past, just by the luck of the spin. But this time I'm gonna I'm gonna slap those things off, and I'm gonna slap you for doing nothing wrong. Or it could also say I'm giving you a shock. Waking up and realizing that everything's crumbling around you is an unfortunate option for the Wheel of Fortune. But it's high risk, high reward. Are you gonna spin that? Because it's constantly spinning regardless, and we don't honestly have control. At times we can feel on top of the world, at the bottom of the world, on one side or the other side, and it's just, it's hard to be, it's hard to have faith in times. It could be very, especially if you're dealing with, a recent death in your family, or if you're dealing with health issues, it can be very difficult to accept that sometimes it's just outside of your control, and just random acts of things such as a surprise death in the family, or a company or something you invest in, whatever, just shuts down. I mean, that's just unfair. And you would think, well, I've practiced my faith, I've meditated, I've talked to my higher power, and often at times it can seem so discouraging to continue to have that faith, and when bad things just happen, and I can see in your near future, whenever it's the Six of Pentacles, and this is the act of charity, pleading to your higher power, pleading to the world around you, saying, am I worthy of what I've invested in? Should I receive what I've given back forth? At the same time, it's that, are you really understanding that sometimes if you're doing a lot of favors for people out there around you that you believe will be returned, especially without expecting that, it's very surprising to get things back, especially if you have those little to no expectation of anything in return. That's true generosity, knowing that you have those such self-worth where you're able to give without expecting. But at the same time, when shit hits the fan, and to expect the world to take care of you, and other people are forced to invest in you, and sure, they might see your character, but also there's people out there that definitely take advantage of people that are able to give freely, and they'll take huge advantage of that. So be aware that it all comes down to the quality of character within yourself, your actions, and those around you. So if you're wondering why, it could be that something negative or something fortunate. It could be either the universe is blessing you, or it's taking something away and punishing you for it. And just don't take it personal. That's the best thing I can say, because don't act out of anger. Don't fight with people around you. Take a mental break, because you never know, you might be surprised by the spin of the wheel again, where one day you're broke and homeless, the next day everything's taken care of. There's plenty of situations in my life personally where I've survived things I never thought I would, and I've been in situations I never thought I deserved. Your vice is the devil, so it can be about negative temptations, addictions. So it's just saying, recognize that you can let yourself go of anything toxic in your life around you. So if it's a person, if it's a place, if it's a relationship, it's dealing something that you obviously know has a negative outcome. Escapism through something, whether it be through entertainment, art, substances, it'd definitely be a good advice to recognize that you can take that chain off any time, and simply know that the devil's constantly going to entertain you. This could be somebody around you that's even saying, I just want you to be just like me. Misery loves company, and it'll make it sound like it's a fun thing. I've seen plenty of people out there because the music's bumping, the party's going, everybody there's having a good time, they're all raging, but because there's like loud music, lots of lights, attractive people at the time, it seems like that's the best way to keep people in this toxic prison. And so, sure, it might be fun and games now, but realize that eventually, the chickens come home to roost. And the sooner you recognize the illusion of negative temptations or addictions or behaviors, you'll actually be saving yourself a lot of turmoil. And that doesn't always guarantee that the life will treat you fairly, even if you choose to get rid of those things. I'm just saying is that it's better off you understand that, whatever you're responsible for, that you're taking responsibility for it. And then you can truly have that victim mentality. But people that typically don't allow the devil to control them aren't victims. They understand how to get out of a hole, because the devil itself is the biggest hole in all of the tarot. Knowing that you're your own worst enemy by your choices and things that you spend your time and actions on, and recognize which ones are bad. And if you don't learn from mistakes, you're just doomed to repeat them. The next one we have for how people are seeing you is the Ace of Swords. And this could be, understanding that, you could be a truthful person, but also handling the truth. Dealing with the exact, nature of a situation, or the mental intellect, or being somebody that has to, tell somebody how it is, or being told how it is how others are telling you. Sometimes, being an honest person, whatever, people typically that interact with the devil, especially if you're surrounding yourself by negative people and you're trying to be a good person, like a saint amongst thieves, it's not a good look. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to work out very well. So a lot of people can see you as, somebody that's willing to tell it like it is. And, as just saying, if you're telling it like it is, but you're not living how it is, that could be a big issue, and you can honestly feel isolated. At the same time, being factual and not really putting up with bullshit is a problem. So how, your hopes and fears section is the Hierophant. The Hierophant, it just definitely deals with somebody that's dealt with, being Chiron. This card was showing. In this version of Tarot, it's the Hierophant, which is showing Chiron, which is the centaur, that trains a lot of the famous warriors, and he's been wounded by, sorry, my phone just said it's dying. So anyway, sorry, back to it. The Hierophant over here in your hopes and fears is letting you know that through your wisdom, as it typically most tarot, whatever, it kind of shows like the Pope figure, the religious figure, but this is also saying through your experience, through faith, you're able to access a higher power, a higher force. It's honestly understanding, and through your own experience, on how to teach others honestly what will work for them, but even though it can't exactly work for you. And that's my experience, because Chiron represents an immortal being that's in constant pain, but therefore teaches warriors of wisdom. Every warrior here he's trained has become somebody of like myth and legend or whatever, and therefore at the end of the day he's still an immortal being that deals with pain consistently. He's not the one on these tall tales, he's not the one that's achieving glory, but he is the one responsible for helping those find the faith within themselves to become those things. So it's important to realize that you will survive whatever endeavor you're going through, if you're feeling like you're dealing with a challenge, or just know that because of your success, if you are getting charity from the world around you, if you are feeling that life is being fair to you, if you are somebody that people are seeing as somebody that takes responsibility and is capable of living a happy, true life that they can see a value, if you are able to, recognize you need to cut off toxic habits, especially if you're suffering with toxic habits, or you're suffering with toxic people that have toxic habits around you, knowing that if you just have faith that you can find things around you, that's what you're hoping for, is having faith, and knowing that the situation around you, it may either be good or bad, just knowing that faith, continuing to have it, is the most important aspect of the entire reading, I would say. And the outcome is the Eight of Swords. Just know that it's all in your head. At the end of it, when it comes down to it, the only thing you truly have control over are your thoughts, which dictates your actions. So if you're constantly stuck in your head about, will I or won't I? Should I just stay in my addiction, or or should I constantly just, ask for help? Am I really just, am I really that truthful? Am I tired of people telling me the truth? Am I tired of people realizing that I can't handle the truth? Am I tired of having that victim mentality of the world's always pissing on me? If I'm acting out of anger and emotions, if I'm not thinking with my head, if I'm not, taking a second to reflect on my thoughts. If I'm constantly surprised that the world's beating me up, it's time to realize that it's time to decompress and really come up with a game plan that will allow you to feel valuable of having charity when things go bad. It's time to get out of toxic habits and toxic activities. It's time to live by the truth, especially if you're dealing with the truth in front of your face. Somebody's going to come up to you and just tell me, hey, you're messing up, or hey, you're doing great. Recognize that those are the best ways to do it, is that you need to clean your subconscious. You need to program that mind, that mind over matter mentality, to realize that if you don't have it up in your head fixed, it's just not going to work out. So what I can say from that is definitely realize that the Eight of Swords, it's a mental prison that's of your own making, and there's no key but your own to get out of it. So get out of whatever mental prison you're stuck in, because I don't know how to unlock it, honestly. Like if you're just frustrated by my words, it's because it's something that where you program where people want to tell you how to live life. It's because you're not taking responsibility for your life, and you have no control of your life to live your own. So, and you're waiting for charity. And you're saying, okay, well, if you're not going to take responsibility, then if you're going to take my charity, then I'm going to tell you how to do it, because I'm tired of having to do this for you. And I don't need crap on you. Like I said, I love cancers, man. I don't really resonate 100% with that reading, but then again, I'm not a cancer. So, all right. But Cancer is my 6th house of work with Jupiter in it, so I definitely can resonate on that on my routines front to a certain extent. So now I'm going to do the you against the world spread. I gotta hurry because my phone's about to die. So 1 card in the middle between you and the world, 3 cards for you, 3 cards for the world. Okay. Mutual energy between you and the world is the 8 of Cups. On your side, we have the 8 of Swords, and on the world side is the 9 of Wands. Wow, so it's so tricky, is that we can see right here that between the world is just saying it's time to, just give up on a situation. Know that if you're going to learn how to complete whatever you're emotionally investing in, within the situation between you and the world, I would say is that it's time to have a fresh start. Because if you're going to go and try to rebuild this stuff, you're going in the dark. It's almost looking at you, and this card is the holographic tarot, and it's just looking at you. If you can see that moon right there, it's just bummed out. It's just bummed out by saying, like, dude, you're wandering in the dark, trying to build emotional investment, and obviously into a terrain that's not very suited for you. It's an ugly climate. There's more beautiful places you can be investing yourself into. How could you feel something so valuable, emotional, where it's just working against you in every aspect? It's dark. It doesn't seem bright and happy. It seems like it takes a lot of work to gain any of these cups in this card. So it just feels like the world around you, whatever, can be definitely as emotionally sensitive as cancers can be. It can be very upsetting to see things that you, especially having to walk away from. Maybe being the leader of the natural 4th house, I believe. Yeah, the natural 4th house of the home. It's like nobody here wants to leave the house, especially if you're a Cancer. How would you invest in that? Your nurturing self. Having to walk away, having to move, having to find a new shell. To move your hermit crab ass into something else sounds typically boring. At the same time, like, irritating, but at the same time it's letting you know that it'll be worth the effort if you just understand. Because on your side we can see here the 8 of Swords. It's all up in your head again. It was the final outcome for the Celtic cross spread. It's saying you're in a prison of your own making, and if you just take the advice of the world, it's just saying, listen, I'll move for you. As soon as you just move yourself, it's time for you to stop having these reoccurring thoughts. Because it's what the 9 of Wands is saying. I'm just going to keep on putting things around you that are going to say no. It's kind of crazy how we have, these 2 cards together. You feel trapped, you feel blocked, but you're just honestly blinding yourself to the truth. And the world's saying, like, listen, if you're tired of everybody saying no to you or putting shit up around you, if you're tired of having to bump your head by making mistakes or feeling that there's obstacles on every side, or saying, like, they thanks for trying, but nobody's recognizing your effort, it's because you're emotionally investing in something that's just not worth your time. And so again, on the next card for yourself is the King of Wands, which I like to see, and then the Lovers. So it's just telling you, the world's telling you to make a decision that that both unconsciously and consciously reflects with your decisions in life. And the King of Wands is somebody that's known as being respected for somebody that actually lives up to the word of what he's going to do, he does. There's nothing more liberated in knowing that when you say you're going to do something, people around you say, I know that person's going to do it. And having the respect to let you know that they're not going to ask you, are you sure? You know, there's nothing more, especially for a Cancer, being of service and having integrity and having that emotional investment in something to actually finish a job. You know what I mean? That's just, you know, that nurturing, it takes such amount of passion that I don't think it gets credit for as it being a water sign. But like, you know, it takes such action to be nurturing. You know what I mean? Such emotional freedom. So I find it very close to like just like this wands and the water can resonate very well and correspond with each other, because the lovers is definitely, you know, it's the height. It's just saying, do you want to be in love, you know, with the decisions that you make? You know, if you don't feel emotionally invested in what you're doing in this world, if you don't love what you're doing with your time, if you don't love your decision, it's time to understand that saying is walk away. It's saying walk away and align yourself, because if you say what you believe, if you study the word praxis, which is the belief of acting within your beliefs, you know, truly, you know, even if you don't in your mind feel successful at the beginning, you know, I don't exactly feel comfortable doing what I'm doing right now, but I'm getting better at it because I simply love doing this. You know, I love setting up everything I do. You know, I just love talking with people that I don't even get to talk back to at the moment. I mean, I don't give a fuck if this is as like, you know, five views. I'm just here to do it because I love to do it, and I feel emotionally satisfied because what I was doing with my time didn't fulfill me. And the final outcome for you and the world is the Nine of Swords on your side, followed by the Six of Wands on the world side. So I personally like this because the Nine of Swords, whatever, sure, it's recognizing you're waking up from that hell of your own making mentally. You know, that mental prison is realizing you have the key within you. It's waking up from the terrible nightmare that you've invested in yourself and realizing there's nothing worse. I mean, I can't tell you how many times where I've had driving dreams, driving nightmares, where I just, no matter how hard I stomped on that brake, the car just would not stop, and I was headed for a disaster. And to wake up the next day still feeling like I was in that car, to wake up in that bed, to have that relief feeling knowing that I woke up and that was just all a dream, is how this life previously you're leaving behind, this experience in the world can feel. If you simply recognize that it's all within your head, it's all within your mindset. So change your mindset, because the world wants to see your success with the Six of Wands. It's saying if you want recognition, you can even change this into this situation you're into. You can change it because your experience can, because we're connected more than ever. I mean, you're watching me dictate, cards right here. But imagine your personal experience, how much you could benefit from those around you. I mean, just by sharing that experience with people, and sure, not everybody's going to listen. You can't save everybody, but at the same time, somebody going through your situation right now, I want to think about it. Whatever you're dealing with right now, do you personally believe that somebody can actually learn from what you're going through, especially if you survive a situation? I mean, being trapped in a mental prison. You know, that's so valuable to people out there. And being of service like that, you know, it's sure, and some people find a way to capitalize it, you know, whether it be through, you know, writing music or books, whatever, audio books or stories, you know what I mean? Like, just thinking about anything where you're going through, is that if you're committed to doing it, you know, understanding that, you know, you can survive this by, you know, just simply changing up. You know, I would say even do a hobby. It's saying right here, it's the King of Wands, whatever, and the love, just do something you love, and you wake up from this mental anguish you're feeling right now, and the world will recognize you for it if you find a way to make it readily available for those that are doing the same thing you're doing. That's what ultimately what this card is saying. This person has, you know, the wreath around his wand because, you know, either he was the first or he found a way how to make it more noticeable. And those around him that are on a similar path or on a similar goal are able to see him, you know, and say, wow, that you did that with your time, therefore I recognize you for doing it because that's what I was trying to do, I just didn't know how. And there's nothing more satisfying than feeling that your own personal experience brought you success. Because that's ultimately what we're looking for here, is to get out of stagnation, be passionate about our lives, and leave an impact. Who doesn't want that in their life? Because the more of an impact you leave, the better of a service you are, the more valuable you feel. Even if those around you don't feel valuable or don't see their value immediately, there's plenty of people out there, especially artists, where after their time, somebody's words is being quoted right now. You know, somebody out there is quoting somebody's, I mean, just type in, you know, quotes of the day, and there's plenty of people that have awesome quotes that I've never heard of before in my life. So So here we go with the final Indigo Angel Tarot. Think about it. Alright. Here's the card. Right, think about it. This card asks you to step back from your current path or thought process to review the situation you're asking about. There is an unseen aspect. The angels guide you to slow down so you can move forward with the whole picture in sight. This card also can be cautionary. If you're about to make a radical change impulsively, while it still may be the best path, this card asks you to look into the alternatives first. As an indigo, you're exquisitely sensitive to energy. Your mission is to heal and transform negative energy into positive. However, there is always a better way to do so. This card asks you to research your options, making the helpful changes that are part of the Indigo mission. Yeah, it makes huge sense. So I want to say thank you, Cancer. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'll see you guys next week. This is Indigo Void. I'm Drew. Thanks for coming.